and gentlemen, hello and welcome to our English news edition coming to you from Canal, Algérie. I'm your host, Maysa Dumas. To the headlines. The President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboun's decision regarding the date of the Arab Summit on the 1st and 2nd of November was adopted by the Arab Foreign Ministers Wednesday in Cairo. Lieutenant General Said Shengriha, Chief of Staff of the National People's Army, chaired the opening ceremony of the annual meeting of Material Army Cadres. The former football player Habib Ben Limoun has returned to Algeria on Wednesday after benefiting from medical care abroad, following the instructions of the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboun. And tension is still running high in Morocco as peaceful demonstrations are held daily to denounce the harsh living conditions and call for social justice. Those were today's headlines. First in our news, the Arab foreign ministers adopted on Wednesday in Cairo during the proceedings of the 57th regular session of the University Council at the ministerial level and adopted the decision of the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboun, regarding the date of the Arab Summit that will be hosted by Algeria on the 1st and 2nd of November 2022, coinciding with the 68th anniversary of the outbreak of the glorious November Liberation Revolution. Manal Ammari has the details.
It is no coincidence that the upcoming Arab Summit will be held in Algeria on November 1st, a symbolic date for the country.
في مارس يكون اجتماع رسمي مع الجامعة العربية تاع وزراء الخارجية وتترسم نهائيا يترسم تاريخ تاع انعقاد القمة اللي يكون في أواخر آخر ثلاثي تاع السنة إن شاء الله ثلاثي الأخير ويكون مرتبط ربما بيوم تاريخي بالنسبة لنا احنا.
Today from Cairo, the history of the summit was traced at the meeting of Arab foreign ministers in the framework of the ordinary session of the Council of Ministers, and the statement made reflects the conviction of the Arab countries of the importance of the date, born from the awareness of the Arab brothers of the pivotal role of Algeria as an active state in the region and a key player in the establishment of stability and the resolution of the crisis experienced by the Arab world. The Qatari Prince Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani expressed his appreciation of Algeria's regional and Arab role, adding that Algeria has an honorable history in resolving many existing conflicts, whether in the region or in the Arab world. The Arab world needs Algeria because unfortunately it is going through many crises, wishing that the next Arab Summit will take place in Algeria and that it will be a success. The summit's agenda includes many challenges and issues that this region is facing, namely the Syrian and Libyan crisis, in addition to the containment of the Renaissance Dam with its three sides, and above all, the Palestinian cause. The next Arab meeting in Algeria will also address the serious and accelerating tensions on the international scene. Its repercussions would serve to unite the Arab world in order to be a voice for peace and to restore dialogue among all adversaries. During a keynote speech, the Kuwaiti Foreign Affairs Minister Sheikh Ahmed Nasser Al Mohammed Al Subah stated that the Kuwait Prince ordered them to support Algeria in the next session. He stressed that Kuwait will be attending and will be among the first participants to arrive and the last to leave. The Arab Summit in Algeria will be an important political meeting in the history of the Arab nation. Algeria has put in intense efforts through proactive work that will serve as a solid ground to come up with distinct resolutions and positions in Arab action.
الجزائر تتأهب لاحتضان القمة العربية التي نريدها جامعة وشاملة ولن نكرس قلتها وأكررها من أرض تونس الطيبة أن الجزائر لن تكرس التفرقة العربية.
The Foreign Affairs and National Community Abroad Minister Ramtan Al-Amamra headed the Algerian delegation participating in the proceedings of the Arab States League. On this occasion, he affirmed Algeria's firm position towards many Arab and international issues, calling on for the support of liberation causes similar to the Palestinian cause. Al-Amamra also participated in the meetings of the Arab Ministerial Committee devoted to the latest developments in the occupied city of Al-Quds prior to the start of the proceeding of the Ministerial Council of Arab States League in Cairo. On the sidelines of the proceedings of this session, Al-Amamra held bilateral talks and meetings with his Iraqi counterpart Fuad Mohammed Hussein, the Mauritanian Ismail Ould Sheikh Ahmed, the Saudi Faisal bin Farhan bin Abdullah Al Saud, and the Palestinian Foreign Affairs Minister Riyad Al Malki. The Prime Minister Ayman bin Abdurrahman chaired a cabinet meeting on Wednesday held at the government palace. During this weekly meeting, the government addressed the following points. As for interior local authorities and urban development sector, a draft organic law was presented, a draft that defines the conditions and modalities for establishing companies, their rights and duties. In the field of work, employment and social security, a draft organic law that enshrines the commitment of the President of the Republic was presented, a draft that allows employees to benefit from a one-year vacation in order to establish their own company and also guaranteeing them the right to return to their original jobs if they didn't realize their projects. In the communication field, a presentation related to the new approach of institutional communication of the government in order to improve the process and better ways of communication to inform citizens on issues of public interest. In the parliamentary activity, the Speaker of the National People's Assembly, Ibrahim Boughali, chaired on Wednesday the meeting of the Council's office to address several issues related to the Council's activities and work program for the upcoming weeks. Lieutenant General Saeed Shingariha, Chief of Staff of the National People's Army, chaired this morning at the Higher School of Material the opening ceremony of the annual meeting for the cadres of the Material Army, Leticia Sidqawi.
At the beginning and after the welcoming ceremony, the Lieutenant General Shingariha, Chief of Staff of the National People's Army, followed in the company of Major General Ali Sa'dan, Commander of the 1st Military Region. Two presentations presented respectively by Major General Ismail Siddiqui, Central Director of Material and the Commander of the school, on the assessment of the activities carried out under the first phase of the Force Preparation Program for the year 2021-2022, as well as the prospects for the development of the Material Army in the various fields. At the end, the Lieutenant General addressed an orientation speech, followed by video conference by the various units of the 6 military regions, during which he expressed his satisfaction at chairing the annual meeting of the cadres of the Material Army, aimed at assessing the progress of the implementation of the annual load plan. He expressed firstly his satisfaction with this meeting, dedicated to the annual meeting of the cadres of the Material Army, organized by the Central Directorate of Material, with the objective of evaluating the progress of the execution of the annual load plan, to make the general assessment of the measures taken in this direction, to make any corrections to the strategy implemented, and to consider possible solutions which will enable them to meet the challenges and remedy the shortcomings recorded. The Lieutenant General also stressed the major interest granted by the senior commandment of the National People's Army to the Central Directorate of Material, which is responsible for sensitive missions, as part of the increase in the availability of our armed forces, the maintenance of their ready state to face any emergency situation. He added that the High Commandment attaches a major interest to the Central Directorate of Material with regard to the character and the specific missions assigned to them, relating essentially to the support of the units and formations of the National People's Army, to participation in the elaboration of development plans of its components, as well as to satisfy the needs for equipment and materials. He also affirmed that these are fundamental levels that certainly strengthen the chain of commandment and help to bring together the elements necessary for the development of the decision of the High Commandment. This interest, thus granted to the weapon of material, is in line with the orientations of the President of the Republic, Supreme Chief of the Armed Forces, Minister of National Defense Abdelmajid Tebboune, aimed at having the factors of power, the means of preserving the indecency and national sovereignty of our country, and to meet all the conditions necessary for the rise in power of our armed forces, the maintenance of their ready state to deal with any emergency situation. At the end, the Lieutenant General integrated some annexes of infrastructure of the school. Before proceeding in the company of Commander of the 1st Military Region and the Central Director of Material to the planting of a tree on the same occasion. At the end of the visit, the Lieutenant General signed the school's Golden Book.
The former football player of Mouloudia of Oran, Habib Ben Mimoun, has returned to Algeria on Wednesday after benefiting from a medical care abroad, following the instructions of the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune. More insight with Nabila Zouad.
He played for Mouloudia d'Oran and was an international player. The former player, Habib Ben Mimoun, suffering from an illness, was able to benefit from treatment abroad on the instructions of the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune. Ben Mimoun is finally back with his family and friends in a much better state of health.
Alhamdulillah.
When I left, I was in a critical condition. After 5 months of treatment, I'm finally home in a much better state. I would like to thank all the people who supported me, in particular the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, who was by my side and helped me. I also thank all my friends. The family and friends of Ben Mimoun expressed their happiness to see the former glory of MCO back in the country in better health, not failing to welcome the gesture of the President of the Republic. The President of the Republic closely monitors through on athletes, which make us very happy. I'm glad to see him doing better after everything he went through. Thank God, we are happy for Ben Mimoun. He is finally back home. Habib Ben Mimoun will finally be able to enjoy the company of his loved ones while waiting to fully regain his physical abilities.
In the dynamics of continuous efforts in the fight against terrorism and organized crimes, detachments of the National People's Army carried out several operations from March 2nd to March 8th, 2022. These operations reflect the high vigilance and permanent availability of our armed forces throughout the national territory. More details, Odarani Al-Bahri.
Within the framework of the fight against terrorism, detachments of the National People's Army arrested 17 elements supporting terrorist groups in separate operations across the national territory.
As part of the fight against organized crime and in continuity with the intense efforts aimed at countering the scourge of drug trafficking in our country, combined detachments of the National People's Army in coordination with various security services have arrested at the level of the 2nd and the 3rd military regions 8 drug traffickers and thwarted attempts to introduce huge quantities of drugs across the borders with Morocco, amounting to 14 quintals and 52 kilograms of treated Kiev, while 31 other drug traffickers were arrested and 39 kilograms of the same substance, as well as 32,821 psychotropic tablets were seized during various operations carried out across the other military regions. In addition, detachments of the National People's Army intercepted in Tamnarast, Borjbaji Mukhtar, Ingizam, Janet, and Tindouf provinces 475 individuals and seized 31 vehicles, 161 generators, 145 pneumatic drills, quantities of explosives, detonation tools, and other equipment used in illicit gold panning operations, while 7 other individuals were arrested and 6 hunting rifles and 17 quintals of tobacco were seized in Khanshla, Sétif, and Janet provinces. In the same context, the border guards thwarted attempts to smuggle large quantities of fuel amounting to 81,664 liters in Tamnarast, Tibisa, Ataref, Suqahras provinces, while 184 illegal immigrants of different nationalities were arrested in Timimoun, Janet, Burgla, Tlemcen, and Naama provinces.
The Sahrawi human rights activist Aminatu Haidar was spied on by Morocco via the Pegasus software of the Zionist entity. 2 phones belonging to Aminatu Haidar were hacked. The non-governmental organization denounced these violations, calling on for the ban of this spyware. The Geneva Support Group for the Protection and Promotion of Human Rights in Western Sahara denounced the silence of the United Nations High Commissioner Office for Human Rights, the flagrant and systematic violations in the occupied Sahrawi territories. The coordinator of the group affirmed that this silence will only encourage the Moroccan occupier to carry on its repressive policy. Tension is still running high in Morocco as peaceful demonstrations are held daily to denounce the harsh living conditions and call for social justice. More details with Rania Al-Bahri.
The Makhzen is shaken by the growing anger of the streets. Every day, thousands of Moroccans took to the street to express their anger against the repressive measures of Al-Makhzen and its economic and social policies, knowing that the majority of Moroccans are close to poverty. Transporters and teachers continue their demonstrations. We, as representatives of Coordination of Contract Teachers, condemned and denounced this blind and unjustified repression towards teachers here in Rabat or elsewhere. I know that this deployed police arsenal is just waiting for orders to start cracking down. Initially, the rise in prices affected fuels but also basic foodstuffs. This latter provoked demonstrations. The inflation rate increased by 3.1% over 1 year. In addition, the severe drought that hit Morocco, while its economy is very dependent on the agricultural sector, the first contributor to gross domestic products, up to 14%. The Moroccan Social Front, which is in the process of setting up while gaining momentum and strength in terms of general mobilization of Moroccan society, raising awareness against the high cost of living, inflation and looking of collective freedoms are another constant of the Moroccan pacifist street. We are here as teachers to demonstrate peacefully. We have neither stones nor weapons. All these demonstrators are surely the teachers of your children, your sisters and brothers. Our demonstration and our fight is clear. We just claim our rights. Many cities are determined to reject the Makhzen strategy of starving people. This new situation has generated a crisis that threatens and damaged all Morocco's institutions. Today, the Moroccan Social Front requires a comprehensive solution to achieve a deep change. The new protest movement is expected to continue, especially with this social-economic situation.
That was it for our news edition. Thank you for tuning in to our program. Good night.